To supplement the outside convenience, most houses had a thunder jug.
No!
A big jug that could be used at night and emptied into the privy during the day. That jug got plenty of use during the scare. Once again, thunder descends.
How is this possible?
Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And we are continuing to work through the Wikipedia page for urban legends, which lists all urban legends from numerals all the way to Z, and we are on the B's right now.
I suspect that there are things, now part of this is already confirmed, there are things on this list that are not urban legends at all.
Definitely.
The last time that we did this was episode 274, where we talked about the back rooms, which itself is sort of like a hot horror, indie horror, urban legend, creepypasta thing.
Yeah.
But not really.
Not an urban legend.
Yeah, not strictly speaking an urban legend. And
but you know what? We're just going to go with what Wikipedia is serving us.
I love the idea that it's almost not our fault, right?
It's out of our hands.
It's out of our hands. We just have to cover whatever Wikipedia has deemed is an urban legend.
Right.
And that is why I get to talk to you about the Legend of Zelda for a while.
The urban legend of Zelda.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There is a creepypasta called Ben Drowned.
Yeah.
That I'm going to talk to you about today. I have been made fun of for enjoying this story. I believe I once on some podcast somewhere tried to tell this story to Bobby, maybe you as well, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And was roundly mocked and ridiculed.
I'll have to see if it rings a bell. By name, it doesn't.
No. There is an interesting quality to this story that I'm about to tell you where it's like, it is an urban legend in the sense that this story was posted online by somebody who's like, this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're saying that it is a real event that occurred. But it's also got all of this, like, a lot of it is about, is there a ghost in my video game?
Oh.
And I think a lot of people would immediately dismiss this outright as something that they're not interested in whatsoever. And that's why I'm here to really almost like advocate that I think that this story is fun. I think it's a fun, spooky story. And video games as the vehicle for it is almost just like, somebody reads a good book and gets haunted by the characters in the book or something like that.
Yeah.
There is precedent for this type of story.
Okay.
Now, in order to get to it, though, I need to do a little bit of house cleaning.
Sure.
First. So I mentioned that last time that we covered Urban Legends was episode 274. This is almost a sort of like mini series of shows that we do periodically where we comb through this list. So that's where you can go if you need to hear some of the origins.
It's be a recurring feature.
And we've skipped over some entries on the list that we have covered in previous episodes.
Yes.
Such as the Bell Witch.
Yep.
Which we discussed in episode 75. And because Ben Drowned is such a, in some circles, such a known story, we're covering it first, though alphabetically. It comes after the topics you're covering.
Of course.
Which we'll get to later in the episode.
Yes.
Now, this story orbits a particular game in the Legend of Zelda series called Majora's Mask. And I think you need to understand something of this game to have any idea what's going on.
Okay.
All right? This is the second Zelda video game that was made in 3D. It was made in the span of a single year. Basically, there's this game that, like, is considered one of the greatest, most perfect games of all time called Ocarina of Time. Yeah. It was the first time Zelda went 3D. And they were like, oh my God, people are going nuts for this. We got to make another one. Yeah. And they gave themselves the constraint. We have to turn it around in a single year.
I mean, that can work. I think it's like called Parkinson's law. I think that's what it's called. Is like any task you give yourself will take the amount of time that you've allotted for it.
That sounds right to me.
Oh, it sounds incredibly right to me. You know what I mean? Like
Don't tell me that my deadline is far in the future because I won't do it until it's pressing.
Absolutely. But if you give yourself like 2 hours for it, then you're going to get it done.
I'll get it
That's
done.
what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely. So in this year, to make a full 3D video game, only the second time they ever did it in this series, I think that it was pretty daunting. So they came up with some very clever solutions. This video game is very much taking inspiration from like Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, these kinds of stories where you've seen Dorothy on the farm, and she's hung out with those weird old men farmhands. But then when she gets sucked into the tornado, she meets people played by the same actors.
Right, weird old men lions.
Yeah, a lion, a scarecrow, and a tin woodsman in the book, the Tin Man. And they're the same actors. Is this just those same guys, but now in a new world?
Right, like in this other dimension, this is what their jobs are?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in this game. They took characters, the literal models from Ocarina of Time, and they've created this Link, the player character, falls into a giant hole in the ground, essentially, and wakes up in Clock Town, which is populated by the same faces that he knew in the real world, but they have different names. In some cases, they have very, like, pointedly opposite personalities to who they were in the real world. And so it gives it this very fairy tale, the world is upside down quality.
Yeah.
There is also a merging here with stories like Groundhog's Day, where Bill Murray is repeating the same day over and over and over again. And across that movie, like, he dies many times, and he essentially learns this lesson of, like, if I do things in a particular order, I can make everybody happy.
Yeah.
I can fall in love with this woman. I can save the old man who will die of exposure out in the cold.
Oh my God, I don't remember that at all.
Oh, yeah. He can do everything if he does it in the right order. In The Legend of Zelda, you have 3 days that repeat. And the big bad thing that's happening is that the moon in the sky with a spooky Wizard of Oz face on it.
Holy crap, that's the moon?
That's the moon behind us on our TV.
Yikes.
Is about to crash into Clock Town unless Link can repeat that 3-day cycle over and over and over again to do things just right to prevent it from happening.
So the moon, the reason I reacted like that is that what now I understand to be, like, you know, the craters on the face of the moon just look like modeled skin of this thing that has like a human nose, human eyes and teeth, except the eyes are red that get gradually like lighter and more yellow until you get to the pupil, which is small and black. And then the teeth are these like big spaces between all of them teeth, and the moon is wearing a grimace. A
grimace. Many people have described the expression on the face of the moon like it looks villainous, right? It looks like he's baring his teeth at you as he flies toward you or something. But many people have also said that there's something in its features that looks like it's scared as well. Like, the moon doesn't want to crash into the earth. It'll be destroyed too.
I can see that too.
And this entire game has this reputation of being morose, depressing, dark. It's said to be like the darkest Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah.
Over these 3 days, every single day, the characters that live in this world, for one of the first times ever, they have this, like, they live a life.
Yeah.
And they're, on day 1, they're debating what to do. The moon's going to crash into us. And they're like, we'll get control of it, like the mayor says.
Yeah.
By day 3, everyone's, like, sheltered inside. There's a character, it's hinted that there's, like, almost like, Clockwork Orange, there's a milk bar that's for adults only, so is it booze?
Yeah.
And on day 3, an older sister lets her kid sister finally have some milk, knowing that she'll sleep when the moon crashes. This is a dark game. This is also the only...
Do you like it? Is it good?
I have never beaten this game. And that is worth noting because I am obsessed with this series.
Yeah, I'm very surprised to hear that. Why haven't you beaten it? It's too hard, or you've just like... I don't know. Tell me.
It stresses me.
Yeah, you don't enjoy it.
The entire time you play, there's a ticking clock at the bottom of the screen. You've only got those 3 days. Love that. And if you screw up, you can rewind to the first day, but you might lose your progress that you had made. I've never beaten it.
That drives me nuts. I was recently playing a game that, if not for that sort of mechanic, I would have kept playing it, but I decided to stop it.
Yeah.
Maybe if other people like it, I'll mention it. It's called Beacon Pines. It's definitely available through Steam. I don't know if it's on Switch. I think it very well may be. But the idea in that game is that they're like, and it's all like little animals and stuff. They're like not real animals or whatever. It's like weird creatures that are solving a mystery, and it's writing a story at the same time.
That's
basically, like every once in a while, there's a storybook that opens and whatever. And it has kind of a choose your own adventure aspect to it. And if you choose the wrong adventure, then you die essentially. So you have to go back to fix it.
Not doing it.
And so I stopped. I liked everything else about it, but I found that that so frustrating that I was like, I don't feel like doing this, which is such a shame.
Nobody wants to lose. Like you feel like you're. I guess some people enjoy it.
People
I
love
said
this
nobody.
game, Beacon Pines.
Yeah.
So I guess a lot of people don't mind that. So maybe check that out if it sounds appealing to you. It's got like cool graphics and stuff, and it's like kind of creepy, but I don't like it. So I understand why you didn't like this game, really.
Totally. And you'd think that I would be obsessed with this. It's the darkest Zelda game.
Yeah,
but
I was surprised
it's
at
that
first.
mechanic. It's like it makes you like anxious to play this game.
And it's just annoying. You have to go back, then you have to go through all of the motions all over again.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there've already been like this game is heavily like fan theorized about, where it's like it's a game about the stages of grief, maybe. Is Link dead and coming to terms with his own death? And like it's a video game. So like the dungeons that you explore and the bosses at the end, do they somehow embody, acceptance, anger, all those stages? Who knows? Some other important features just to mention. A lot of this game is about death, very directly. A big mechanic of the game is that Link finds masks that he can wear. It's called Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
The main enemy is called Skull Kid, and he's wearing Majora's Mask. And the mask itself seems to be almost like you can wear, almost like the Jim Carrey mask, right? Like, are you wearing the mask or is the mask wearing you? To some extent. Link can also find these masks and transform into different little characters, and it is heavily explained, if you're paying close enough attention, that the masks he wears are all of people who have died. And so when he transforms into somebody, he's almost literally taking the form of that dead person.
Wow.
During the credits, if you beat the game successfully, at the beginning of the game, you're transformed into like a little tree man. He's called a Deku Scrub. He's like a little bush thing. And you can find a similar looking creature that has taken root in the ground and looks like a sad haunted tree. And in the video game, they're like, this looks oddly familiar. Later in the game, you meet a butler of that race, and he's like, you look familiar. You look just like my nephew. And then during the credits, where like, congratulations, you saved the world, one of the little interstitial shots that plays is the butler in front of that haunted tree crying.
Oh my God.
Because you have taken the form of his dead nephew through these masks.
Holy crap.
And Link wears like a horrifically pained expression as he transforms. This game is like very warped.
Yeah.
And so that's the backdrop for the story that was written online, which is known overall as Ben Drowned. And it's kind of interesting. It's almost like I wrote The Ring crossed with Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
What is Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle?
AKA Prepare to Be Scared.
Wait, what is Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle?
It's that first sequel that they made. Remember we went with like everybody on Thanksgiving, and it's the Jumanji board game turned into a video game and sucks these kids into it. And like the popular girl is now Jack Black in the video game.
Okay, that movie. Yeah. You and I didn't go to see that together.
We didn't?
Ryan and I saw that together and left.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, no.
We did not like it. We loved Jumanji 1. Jumanji 2, no.
The board game?
Oh, we saw the first Jumanji together. You're right.
Wasn't that Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle?
It was the first one, so that's what it's called.
Like the Traps Come Alive is Jumanji 3 or something? I don't know.
I think there are only two
Jumanji 1 is in the 90s with Robin Williams.
I know, but I thought they just called this one Jumanji as well.
Man, they
doesn't matter.
Probably just called it Jumanji again. Yeah. I don't know. More Jumanji. Jumanji.
I really like Jumanji 1.
Jumanji, more Jumanji.
Yeah. Whatever the new Jumanji first one was, I very much enjoyed. And yes, we did go see that together with a bunch of people.
Right.
Yeah.
So this story was written in 2010 by Alexander D. Hall under his username Jaducible. And here we go. It evidently, now I'm going to be talking about sort of like the initial story as I was aware of it. Unbeknownst to me, this story has continued with posts as recent as 2020.
These things really have a life. Like, do you remember that we covered something called The Sun Vanished a million years ago?
Yes.
And that was ongoing earlier this year. It may still be like as we speak.
Wow. Yeah. It really, I do really love these sort of like stories where they happen in increments online just because people want to post them.
I do too.
I think it's really cool. So here we go. This mostly came out as a series of 5 posts initially, right? So post 1. This guy, Jaducible, He's a sophomore in college. His friend gives him a Nintendo 64, and he wants to get some games for it. So at a big garage sale day or something, he goes around trying to see if anybody's got them for sale, right? And almost like in a classic scary story sense, he ends up seeing, the spooky house at the end of the block. It's covered in clutter. Nobody's really visiting it, but he walks over where he sees an old man standing at a table, and he's got one milky eye. So this is like the opening of Gremlins or something. The dad going into that shop and he buys the Mogwai. Like there's always got to be...
That's like the only part of Gremlins I liked, I think.
Really?
If I remember correctly.
There's always got to be the spooky shop.
Yeah.
So the old man says, I think I might have some games. And he goes inside the house, eventually emerging with a blank Nintendo 64 cartridge, no logo, no official logo on it. Instead, handwritten across the front is the word Majora. So it's probably Majora's Mask. Deducible, now this is from the story itself. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least that's what I think it sounded like. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. And there was one save file simply named Ben. Goodbye, Ben, he was saying. Goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man. Obviously a grandparent, obviously going senile, and I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben. All right. So, Deducible starts up the game and he's surprised to find that even though it's like handwritten and stuff, it plays pretty well. It's a little glitchy here and there. It's okay.
Yeah.
But occasionally, even though he started a new save file and named his character Link, occasionally characters in the game will refer to him as Ben. This doesn't make sense to him. He starts to think maybe the cartridge is corrupted. Maybe the save files are somehow writing each other. So he goes back to the main menu and he deletes the Ben save. But now when he goes back into his game, characters will be like, "It's good to see you." No name at all. There's just nothing written there. No Link, not Ben, just a void, which is weird. Other things start to happen too. Now he starts to explain some crazy in-game glitch that I don't really understand.
Yeah.
This game is about 3 repeating days. He's like, I tried the well-known 4th day glitch. Don't know what that is. It doesn't matter. He tried to initiate a glitch to get to some, I guess, like cheat code type area of the game.
And kind of get past it.
Yeah, something like that. Instead to find himself dropped back in the game's main world, Clocktown, but there are no characters there at all. And so he's walking around and it's just like an empty town, essentially. And here's where this sentence is written, and I can feel people laughing at me. Quote, I had never felt so alone in a video game before.
Look.
We got to take it at face value, everybody. I've never felt so alone in a video game.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I suppose if some people feel very held and welcomed by a video game, then the opposite would be true.
But so he feels in the game somehow like he's drawn to keep playing it. He doesn't just want to put it down. There's something's compelling him to remain in the game. Which is where I think it's almost like Jumanji. Like is some sort of...
Totally. I understand.
Like The Mask. Is he playing the game or is the game playing him?
Right.
Who knows? But he's also starting to feel real world depression while playing the game. So here's from the story again itself. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe, now, video game logic, right? If you're trapped in an area, there's a thing in video games called like soft lock, where it's like nothing is gonna, there are no enemies, there's no way to progress. You're trapped unless you restart the game.
Okay.
Or if you die. Like in a Mario game.
Wait, I don't understand. Why would that be?
So there's a very popular game, Mario Maker, right now. People can just upload their own levels. But occasionally you might find a way, if you're playing the game and do something the game creator didn't anticipate, you might find yourself just trapped in a pit. And there's no way to get out. And the only way to get out would be to let the timer run out until you die.
I gotcha. Okay.
Or if is like an enemy or something, you can just run into the enemy and die, so the level will start over.
Okay.
So I think something similar was going on here. I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry, there's like a laundry building, in the pool out back, I could spawn somewhere else and leave. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link, the character, grabbed his head, and the screen flashed for a brief moment, of this character in the game called the Happy Mask Salesman.
Uh-oh.
This
Is he actually happy?
No, this is one of the most unnerving characters in real life in the game. He's
Yeah.
a bizarre man who sells masks and travels around, and he's usually smiling unless you make him upset. And then they didn't put in that like his expression changes. It's just like hard cut, and he's frowning at you. And he picks up Link and like shakes him and stuff. It's very weird.
God. I encountered a client at a salon one time who was like that.
Really?
She was always like way overly happy, like just really putting it on basically. But that's more pleasant than people who are being shitty or whatever. And then this one day she came in late and I was like, oh, so is it okay if we just do some highlights around your face? Because I don't have time to do the whole thing. And she was like, what?
Yeah.
What? And I was like, yeah, I just don't have time for the whole thing. And she was like, why? And I was like, well, because you're late. And she was like, my appointment was, let's say 3:15. And I was like, it was 2:45. And then she was like, oh, it was? Oh, okay. All right. No, just around the face. That's fine. And I was like,
I wonder why you quit.
Holy, yeah.
Coiled spring people.
It's wild.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that very much is what this character is like programmed to look like. And in the game itself, he's almost implied to at some point be like a god. It's very weird.
Yeah.
And he constantly will repeat this thing. Like when he first sees you and you're this little tree guy, he can help you. But he goes, you've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? It's like a great spooky phrase, very imposing.
Yeah.
So he
also asking you as if you already know, and it sounds like you don't as a character know that.
Yes.
So it's
but
like
in some way it's implied that he can see all or something. So his face flashes on the screen along with a scream, a kid screaming in the background, and then a lot of the early Zelda stuff is about music, like playing music, and so a spooky song is playing.
It's what an ocarina is, right? It's like a flute?
Yeah, it's like a little flute.
Yeah.
So he turns around, runs out back into the town, and to his horror, there's this statue in the game. And I think, now I've never gotten to the point of the game where you would do this, but you can play a particular song that summons essentially a doppelganger of yourself.
So Will just put on the screen that we have behind us for visual reference. It looks like, what I understand Link to look like. So it's, a little creature that has pointy ears and blonde hair, wearing a green shirt and a green hood. But then it has this like uncanny valley face. So weird human-esque eyes, eyebrows, nose, and mouth with, again, like kind of gritted teeth.
Yes.
Like, that episode of Friends where Chandler can't smile and he just keeps going like, looks like that.
Grimacing, yeah.
Yeah.
So this thing is following him. Every time he looks back, it's closer and closer.
So I'm sorry, I'm losing. This is just in Ben Drowned. This isn't in the game. For real.
Oh, this is in the game for real.
Okay. Wow.
You can summon this, and I think enemies attack it instead of you.
Yeah.
Like literally you put up a doppelganger of yourself. Now I'm not sure. But so this thing is suddenly following him and he didn't summon it, so to speak.
Not like Gooey Luigi or whatever it's called.
Luigi.
Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion 3. Yeah. But so he compares it in the story himself to the weeping angels from Doctor Who, which I think a lot of people are familiar with, where like every time you look away, it creeps closer to you, but you never see it.
I love that. So scary.
So he basically shuts it down, even though he feels like this thing is chasing him and hunting him. And eventually he comes face to face with the game's main enemy, Skull Kid wearing the titular Majora's mask. He says, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid, and it actually hit him, and played an animation of him like reeling back, like he took a hit. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a text box appeared saying, that won't do you any good, he. And then Link is lifted up off the ground, turned to be as if he's like lying down on his back in the air, and then Link starts screaming and bursts into flames.
Oh, God.
He says, I jumped when this happened. I'd never seen this happen to anyone in the game. Skull Kid himself doesn't even have moves, especially not like that.
Yeah.
He turns off the game, restarts it, only to find that his file has been now renamed Your Turn. And a file just below it has been restored, Ben.
Fun.
Even though we had deleted it, it's back.
Yeah.
Impossible. That's all post 1. Post 2. This one is kind of neat. It comes with a video, which is, I think, we're used to maybe like more modern stories like this where people will have like all these multimedia elements in their stories. I think that this was pretty unusual for the time. So this guy, he uploaded video to show off like what he was experiencing, which I think almost like lends credence to what he's talking about.
I think that's a great idea.
Because I would not know how to make this. Right. I'll tell you that right away. I would not know how to edit the game characters to make it look like the events of the game or the events of the story that he described actually happen on the cartridge.
Right.
So you can see, I'm just like putting up some like just footage as it was uploaded, but you can see like Link screaming as he's transforming into different characters.
Yeah.
We saw Link burst into flames here. This is all in the video version if you want to check it out, everybody. But this is, in post 2, he's essentially describing the events of this video, is my understanding. And I have barely flipped through it.
How many posts are there? Do you know?
5 in this original series, but like I said, evidently beyond a certain point, I stopped being aware of this story and it has continued.
Oh, right.
But I'll describe to you how it almost seems like it morphs into a totally different thing. Yeah, so in story 2, he also gets into this fun stuff where he's like, I wanted to avoid playing the game, but he also couldn't stop thinking about it. And so he did something that like really reminded me of The Ring. He goes back to the old man's house.
Ah, fun.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
So, as I expected, okay, the man next, he didn't find anybody at the house, okay? The man next door, mowing the grass, came over and asked if I was looking for someone. I told him I was looking to talk to the old man that lived here, to which he told me what I already knew. The old man is moving. I guess he's going to leave. Trying a different avenue, I asked if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question, one that I should have asked from the beginning. Who was Ben? The man's expression turned grim, and I learned that 4 doors down, around 8 years ago, there was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. Shortly after, his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man to get more information, he wouldn't divulge anything else. But just like in post 1, the save files on the game changed again, when he went through all these horrific events, Kristen.
Of course.
The Ben file is still there, but now the second file is simply named Drowned. The game is telling him what happened. Ben drowned.
Cool.
And is that why in post 1 he was like, maybe I could drown myself in the laundry pool in the game? Like, was the game sort of convincing him to do what maybe it had convinced this kid Ben to do some previous time? All right. Post 3 is mostly just about him being tormented, right? He's following me now, not just in the game. He's in my dreams. I see him all the time behind my back, just watching me. So post 3 is mostly about Judusible's sort of like state of mind, like getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And people are now like seeing these posts online and being like, well, what's going on? And talking about the events of the story and like commenting and asking him questions and giving him advice. And it takes on such like a life of its own, which is kind of neat. And then post 4 is posted. It's a friend of Judusible's.
Ooh, real quick, what Reddit was this posted on? I'm sure you said it.
I don't think it was Reddit. I think it was 4chan.
Oh, okay.
I think it was. I'm not sure.
Do you know what, like, board?
X, which I believe is about the paranormal.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. But
I was just curious whether it was like a creepypasta, so it's like obviously fake, but people were getting into it or whatever. It doesn't matter.
What's fun is he at the start of it, he goes, this is not a creepypasta, which is in the tradition of, Texas Chainsaw being like, this is a true story.
Right.
But so post 4 comes up and this guy's like, I'm his roommate, right? I'm not him. I'm his friend. I live with him.
Yeah.
And here's what he's been going through. He's not looking very good. But I think that he's okay otherwise, and he shares another video. So he's like giving people more material to look at, which is kind of fun, and it sort of flushes out this world. Now it's not just the main guy. Now it's his roommate who lives with him, and here's what he's experiencing outside of Judusible's just, interior monologue, essentially. Post 5, though. Judusible is back. This is the last post for this original arc that I'm going to tell you about.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll give you a hint of where it goes that I struggle to understand.
Wonderful.
Judusible is back, but reveals that he thinks the game is becoming more than just a game, right? In order to share this footage, he had to essentially plug the video game into a capture card into his computer, and he's worried, almost like a computer virus or something, that let's call it a demon in the game, has now got it into his computer, and it's watching him and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So he explains that because of the sensitive nature of this and feeling like he's always being watched and that this thing is on all his devices, he's had to almost communicate with people in code. Did you pick up on some of the things in his posts?
Oh.
Now, I don't know explicitly what those things were, but I do love the idea of like this like look closer mindset.
Yeah.
You know? But he does explain this very important thing where this is sort of how he maybe learned that the thing in the game had escaped. Up until now, yeah, he's been communicating with the game using only like in-game text and stuff, right?
Yeah.
You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? It seems like it's constrained to what the game has at its disposal.
Yeah, within the game.
But it links him to a website called Cleverbot, where you would be able to chat with essentially an AI. But it seems like he's chatting with the demon.
Oh, no.
Yeah, oh no is right.
Oh, no.
Well, in what sense are you
happily
saying oh no? You're happy oh no?
Yeah.
This is where it's like, I like the idea of just being like this game.
Yeah, it's probably better without whatever this is.
Yeah, this game, which was already dark.
Smaller.
Yeah. It's even darker in this iteration, or, you know, was there some horrible thing? I know people don't like their supernatural mixed with technological, but whatever. For this, you got to take that. So like,
I like it.
This kid
I
bend
don't
down
think
the
you told me
street.
this before. It doesn't ring a bell.
This kid bend down the street. Maybe there was demonic possession in his house, and he would play this game nonstop. And just like in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, an ancient demon enjoyed the characters of this world and started to use them and try to embody it, and eventually compelled Ben to drown himself, this child. Who knows? That's how I always took it. But now we've got this entity speaking to Jeduceable through cleverbot.com. And he says, "Should I wait until you play the game then?" "What?" "That game." "Majora's Mask?" "Yes." "How did you know about that?" Because what?" "I did it." "Did what?" "I played with you."
Yeah, this is too far.
It's not what you want, right?
Yeah.
"What the fudge?" "Were you scared?" "Who the fudge is this?"
The demon asks, "Were you scared?"
"Were you scared?" "Who the fudge is this?" "Ben." "The statue? You're inside my computer now?" "Yes." "How?" "You connected me." "How the hell did I connect you?" "Cables and cords."
Yeah, this isn't great.
Yeah, that's not what you want.
No.
Then it's very long, too.
Also, I don't know, him talking to the chat bot, clearly that's what the story is because this guy wrote it, but him talking to the chat bot doesn't necessarily imply that this demon is inside his computer. I mean, it's the internet.
No, it implies that he's on the internet.
Yeah.
I know, it is, yeah.
Whatever, yeah.
"What do you want from me?" "To entertain." "You're stuck inside there. You can't hurt me." "Ha." Question mark. "Go play." "No, you can't hurt me." "Took you longer to type that." "So?" "You're not sure."
God.
"If you're so powerful, why use a ridiculous website like this to chat with me?" "Less messy, more structured. Fun." "Fun?" "Yes. Tradition. I like it."
He finds chatbot AI traditional?
I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. Obviously, this goes without saying, but from here on out, this is the end of the story. Do not download any images I may have put up, any files or anything. This 5th day will be my last day. I'm going to burn the cartridge and then come back to destroy my laptop. Again, even though I don't even know you, this is sort of bittersweet for me. This semester, I didn't have any friends, or rather, I stopped paying attention to them. But I suppose that's partially to blame because I'm the genius who picked to live in a single. I suppose someone could have gotten hold of me to save me before I got too immersed in the game. Wait a minute.
If he lives in a double?
He lives in a single.
What?
Kristen, post 4 was put up by his roommate, who shared more footage.
Oh, no! That wasn't his roommate.
I don't think it was his roommate, Kristen. I'm starting to think post 4
Fun.
was Ben.
I'm back, baby.
I'm just glad it happened to me and that I could get the warning out so that Ben dies here. Lastly,
And that roommate put up more footage, which people might have downloaded, so the virus demon spreads.
It will spread. Thank you for taking the time to open this and open yourselves up to me by hearing my story, despite maybe not believing me. You didn't have to do that, really. You shouldn't have. Your support this entire time has kept me going, and now I'm finally free of this. Thanks again, Jaducible.
Is he free of it?
The end. No, well, it sounds like maybe he has provided this entity a way onto the internet and to anybody's life who read the story.
Oh, so it's away from him because, like, The Ring.
Yeah, basically.
Kind of thing.
That's where I said it reminded me of The Ring to some extent.
Yeah, definitely.
But so that's kind of fun. Post 4, all of a sudden you go like, oh my God, he lives in a single.
I like it overall.
Whoa. It's fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think it's fun. It's already in a game that is pretty deranged to begin with. It's like the creatures in this world are scary in and of themselves.
I can't believe that this doppelganger Link that you showed me is a product of the actual game and not from the Ben Drowned thing.
Nope. Nintendo made this.
It's,
you know what I mean?
It's terrible.
But
I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The entire game is really bizarre and warped and moody and depressing and
yeah, I mean, I kind of love all the images that I'm seeing. And also, it's just in that fun time where it's on the cusp of having like really good technology. So it's 3D, but it still doesn't look quite right. And I like it. It's like nostalgic looking now.
Even that, some of what I've got behind us on the set is actually from a remake on the Nintendo 3DS. The original graphics are even like clunkier.
Huh.
There's a thing in it where he describes like Link's character almost like has his spine broken to the side. And so you can see that he has somehow done that in the game to have Link like broken at a 90-degree angle and twitching and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did this side of it. Where I mean, I guess I know how he did it. He had some awareness of being able to mod the game.
But still, yeah, like it's not easy is your point. Like it's not something that just anybody knows how to do.
Exactly. And like the spooky statue thing will just suddenly warp to your position without you calling for it, essentially, which is bizarre. It is fun, but it does hinge on this notion of like my video game is haunted.
Right.
Which I can understand most people having zero interest in.
I get it. And also, for a lot of people, just as soon as you hear video games, your mind kind of turns off. I think I used to feel that way.
Yeah.
I like this. I think it's cool.
I think it's pretty fun. I think it's pretty inventive and well done.
Yeah.
Now I'll leave you with the fact that this story does seem to have continued.
Right.
And it seems like it got like almost like out of control from what I can even understand. On Wikipedia, they list out like arcs of the story, and the second arc is called Moon Children. And I guess this all happens on websites. There's this whole thing of like a cult that maybe worshipped the game or something. And then then here's the third arc, Awakening. 2 years after an unknown societal collapse in 2018, the YouTube channel formerly controlled by Jaducible and Ben is taken over by a character named Jadis, who recounts an alternate history to have occurred in the time since the final ascension of the Father.
Wow.
Who was revealed to have been Kelbris. Now, you see what I'm saying? Like, all of a sudden it feels like biblical and like, I don't know. Maybe it's similarly cool, but it's just like, at face value, I don't recognize it. You know?
And it's like harder to kind of grasp onto. Like, you understand the concept of, a video game doing weird things, but when we start to introduce Kelbris and Jadis and this kind of
and the cult. Yeah,
this sort of like family tree now, it gets harder and harder to grasp onto, I would imagine.
I like a simple game, maybe haunted by a kid down the street or a demon that is pretending to be the kid that he previously tortured.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Nice and clean and creepy.
Absolutely.
Sweet. All right, so before we move on to a beast, let's make sure that everybody knows about patreon.com/GTTUpod. This is a great way to support the show. We so appreciate the hundreds of people who already do over there. And if you decide to join us, you can go check out our different tiers that we have, pick out what works for you, and you can potentially get access to double the Guide to the Unknown, because we have a whole other podcast called the Netherworld Dispatch that comes out every Monday just for our demon tier of Patreon. And then there are other tiers that you can check out, see what works for you. But it's an awesome place, and there's really cool stuff out there for people who decide to back us.
Thriving.
And also, when you join a tier, you get all of the back episodes for that tier. So at minimum, it's still like dozens and dozens of episodes, if not, hundreds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're
maybe hundreds is an exaggeration.
Not hundreds.
100 plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
The most recent episode that we did was about the remake of Resident Evil 4, which just dropped and is already said to have sold better than any of the recent video games.
Oh, really?
People are loving it. Kristen and I did essentially a blind play of the demo, which was super fun. I think I've been thinking about it since we played it.
It was sweet.
And you can literally, it occurred to me, you can see a moment where we see one of the monsters in the game and it's unlike traditional zombies. And you can see our real-time moment of being like, oh my God, look at that.
Yeah.
It's like an authentic YouTube thumbnail.
Yeah, like a moment.
Yeah, moment where we're doing that whoa face, but it actually happened.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
It was super. Will played it, and then I was watching. I mean, it was super fun to watch as an observer because there's a storyline to it, and then just the action was fun to watch. I was swept all up in it. So even if you're not a video game player, you might just enjoy the whole atmosphere of it and everything.
And then Chrissy bought the game for me.
Yeah, I did.
And so I'm going to play the hell out of it.
Hell yeah, you are.
Hell yeah. All right, everybody. Patreon.com/GTTUpod. Get into it. Enjoy. Get in the Discord. Get some shows.
Yeah.
Make a party.
Yeah. Make a party. All right. So I am going to tell you about the Beast of Bladenboro.
Great.
And I got my info from a really cool site called NorthCarolinaGhosts.com.
Fantastic.
So worth popping over there. Particularly if you're from North Carolina, it's probably really fun. But everybody, I would say, take a look. So the town of Bladenboro embraces this story. It reminded me of the town that loves Momo in Missouri. That loves Momo. The town that loves Momo.
The town that loves Momo.
As opposed to the town that dreaded sundown.
Yeah.
Because they really embrace it, like the Momo monster, which we talked about in a previous episode. The town that happened in, they have a Momo festival. There was a restaurant that had a Momo burger.
Right, yeah,
the crumbly Momo burger. Yeah, stuff like that. And this town is kind of similar now. There's a yearly Beast of Bladenboro festival that still happens to this day. And you can go to boosttheboro.com/beast-fest to read about it. And it sounds very nice.
Cool. Beast Fest.
I know. The site is very fun and 90s-esque.
Hell yeah.
Even though it is updated to today. If I were to just look at it and not see any dates, I don't mean to shade it because I like this.
Of course.
But I would have guessed that this site has not been touched since 2001.
What was it? What is the website?
It's boosttheboro, BORO.org/beast-fest. So I like that they have this written there. I find it sweet. On the site, it says, "We always challenge ourselves to make Beast Fest better than the previous year. Our two main goals: every event must be in good taste and appropriate for the entire family, and it must be safe, welcoming, and have an all-inclusive atmosphere." Which is very sweet.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So the events that led to, Beast Fest and other things happened in Bladen County, North Carolina, a small community nestled amongst pine forests and swamps in 1953. And no, it was a ghastly business, William. On December 29th, a woman heard her dogs whimpering outside, so she went to investigate and saw a large cat-like creature skulking away, but her dogs were luckily unharmed. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for a different family nearby who found their two dogs drained of blood and attacked by something that seemed large based on their injuries.
It's like a chupacabra.
Yes, very much so. This is going to have a lot of dogs drained of blood.
Okay.
By the way. So if that's not your thing, strangely, maybe dip.
That's my thing.
Yeah, I love that. And it turned out that this was just the beginning. Over the next 2 days, the local police got more and more reports of dogs being attacked, and there was a witness at a local service station who said that they saw something large drag a dog off into the woods. There were descriptions of a creature that was large, quote, and I'm not sure where this quote is from. I have all of the sources in my notes and the North Carolina Ghost and everything, but they didn't clarify where this quote is from. But
someone said it.
Right, whatever. I'm quoting from this site. Let's just say that. It was large, quote, like a bear or a panther that was 3 feet long, 20 inches high, with a long tail and the face of a cat.
Oh, okay.
Kind of hard to wrap your head around, I think.
Yeah, it is.
People reported hearing screams, quote, like a woman with a knife stuck in her back, coming from the swamp, presumably from the beast. Now, we've talked about this kind of thing a lot on the show when we talk about different cryptids and supposed beast sightings. There are a lot of just known animals that sound super scary when they make noise.
And like common animals, like a red
fox.
Or a fox, an owl, you know?
Yeah, like a fox when it's, I guess when they're doing it, right? Am I right about that?
I guess, or just howling. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe both, but sounds like a woman screaming.
Yeah.
And legit does. I mean, it's super unsettling. And I've heard that noise. And it's horrible. And I can understand how if maybe you don't have, I mean, this was what, in the 60s, I think it was, or something.
Yeah.
You don't have access to the internet, obviously, or information as freely. So it might not be common knowledge that foxes make this noise or whatever it is.
Right.
So you're just hearing that there are dogs that are being killed and drained of blood. You hear a freaky sound coming from the woods, and I can understand why you would equate those two events.
This is the thing that did it.
They're two unexplainable things that happen in close proximity time-wise. So why would they not be linked, basically? So then on January 1st, 2 more dogs were discovered drained of blood, and the local chief decided that it was time to call in some reinforcements. He got in touch with a team of professional hunters to track and kill the beast. On the hunt, they saw footprints that they said were bigger than a silver dollar. Is this impressive to you? Same.
Wait a minute.
They saw tracks that are bigger than a silver dollar. I mean, our dogs' footprints are bigger than a silver dollar.
My footprints certainly are. My footprints are probably at least $2 silver.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Technically true.
Right. I don't know. Were silver dollars bigger?
I don't know. They made them bigger. Yeah, in North Carolina in the 60s. This is like Jaws.
Yes. It gets even more Jawsy. It's kind of weird.
I'll catch him and kill him for $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for $5 silver.
Oh.
That could be the 5 pads of a paw, or the 5 little, the fingerprints.
Adorable.
That actually sounds
My
nice.
fee is adorable.
You're not going to mind paying it. Okay. So then, just a few days from that, on January 5th, the beast advanced on a human. Mrs. C.E. Kinslaw heard what sounded like whimpering dogs outside. I don't think that they owned dogs, this family. And she went out to investigate when a large cat-like creature started rushing at her.
Oof.
Her husband ran outside and scared it off, but yikes. So then the local paper ran a headline that said, "Vampire cat charged woman."
Hold on a second.
Because the dogs were drained of blood. Now it's got a vampire rep.
Vampire cat.
And it had the cat sightings.
Are they saying, I guess, and maybe you don't have an answer to this.
Right.
Are they saying that all that happened to the dogs is their blood was sucked out? Like they weren't eaten?
I don't know. Who's to say? They were
You see what I'm
attacked.
saying?
I mean, I would imagine they must have had some sort of large scratches on them, because how did they ascertain that it was a very large animal that attacked them?
Right.
So I guess I assume that there were maybe giant claw marks or something.
And I would associate this with like a prey animal. Like, is it eating dogs? And did the blood... They're saying like this cat like basically like stuck a straw into the dog and sucked the blood out.
From what I gathered, it seems like it was that they attacked the dogs and like drank their blood.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think their bodies were left behind.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it is weird.
It definitely is weird.
Yeah.
So based on that headline, Vampire Cat Charged Woman, other newspapers started picking up the story, and eventually 600 armed men made their way to this small town determined to nab the beast.
Just waiting for something, just any excuse.
We gotta go get it.
I know what I'll do.
Yeah. so dumb. A frat came wanting to mount the head of it on their wall, which, oof.
Dude.
And so I was thinking, if people are coming from like far and near, this probably isn't just pure altruism.
Not at
like they
all.
read about this and they weren't like, oh, I want to help this small community and so that none of these dogs are hurt. Like for most of these people, even though this article called out this particular frat, like most of these hundreds of dudes are coming in for sport and like bragging rights and all that stuff. And so all of these 600 men suck.
Yeah.
I feel very justified in saying.
Braggadocio, bravado.
Braggadocio bros.
It's
not interested.
An excuse to get violent.
Yeah.
Right.
So also the other part, so they all descend, they're armed to the teeth and everything. They're like stalking the area
This
looking
is Halloween
for this thing.
Kills.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Right.
But
Evil dies tonight.
right. But part of the problem is they don't know exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So there was speculation that maybe it was a Carolina bobcat, but those were extinct by that time. So that's another thing that would have added to all these people descending on the town and wanting to find this thing, because what a boon to be able to kill this unknown animal.
Absolutely.
So not only are you a tough guy who's killing something that everybody in the town is afraid of, it's also an unknown quantity. Like, what could be cooler, basically, if you're a complete idiot?
Especially because, like, I think we've learned by now that mankind has crafted weapons that can best most any animal, right?
Yeah.
You get these people that, like, go to Africa and do these professional safaris where they take down, like, an elephant or something.
Right.
You know, hard, like, oh, wow. Big shock. You were able to kill an elephant with a gun.
Yeah, the elephant did have a gun.
Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly.
This animal... Now, nobody wants their dog to die, but for all intents and purposes, it seems like this is an animal. Like this like way overkill of like, gentlemen, grab your guns and come by the hundreds to fight a cat.
I know. It's
It is
crazy.
just
I mean,
bloodthirstiness. Like, wow, I wonder if you managed to take down the vampire cat that its body count is mostly dogs?
right. Maybe it's because you have this weapon.
You got
that,
artillery.
like,
Yeah. You
it's
came
so
down
ridiculous.
like Rambo.
yeah, and like obviously, I mean, same deal. Obviously, I'm not happy about hearing about these dogs that were hurt.
Of course.
But also, I don't know, could we trap this thing?
Yeah.
Or something? It reminds me of, like, it sounds like it's doing what animals do. Maybe not the draining of blood part, but I don't know. There's predators and prey in nature. Like, this is maybe how this animal eats or whatever. I don't know. It reminds me of in like all the Jurassic Park movies, like especially in the kind of later ones with like Chris Pratt and everything.
Yeah.
They frame it like the dinosaurs are these like deliberate villains.
I know, yes.
To catch, and they're just doing what dinosaurs do.
They're just animals.
Yeah.
And that was what was appealing and interesting about the first
You
one, is
brought
that
them back.
we're just down the food chain now.
Yeah.
That's what's scary.
Right.
Yeah, there's also something here where, like, back to Jaws, right? When you're talking about the guy that's like, its paws are bigger than a silver dollar. Mm-hmm. Like, that guy is the Quint of Jaws, who's like, you know, he's doing the measurements of its like maw to show how big this thing might be. And like part of that movie is Richard Dreyfuss getting into a shark cage.
Yeah.
And going into the water and essentially luring the shark to him as if he's prey. Mm-hmm. I think, and I bet this would work for many situations, you hire a furry who comes down in a dog suit.
Okay.
And now they get to live their life crawling around on all fours back there, right? But then that way you're luring in the vampire cat.
You better be real close by.
You might disagree with my methods, but they're effective. Hand me my doggy head. I'm gonna act like a little puppy.
So stupid. So we have a chat going as we record live on youtube.com/gttupod. And Maggie in the chat just pointed out that silver dollars are about a half-inch wide. So it's not that impressive that the prints were a half-inch.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like there must have been a miscommunication somewhere. I know that's what the article said, but it can't be right that they were
to feel impressed by it.
That.
You got to be like, its feet are bigger than a human's. You know what I mean? Like,
there's got to be something lost in the sauce here, but that's what it said.
Its paws are about the size of a dime.
Yeah. Okay.
Teeny.
That's okay. Whatever. So obviously this is all like, it all seems like, and is terrible, and we're like, these idiots, whatever, but it's also super scary for the locals. Like, they're living their lives. This was scary anyway, that now there's a predator who's around.
Right.
And then like 600 strangers are in your town
Boy.
who are like armed like crazy. That's terrifying.
How safe do you feel?
Absolutely.
Looking for a target.
Yes.
That's all they want.
Yeah. So they started making sure, the locals, that they were inside after dark, not only because of the animal itself, I'm sure, but because of all these wackos running around with guns.
Yeah.
And they didn't come out at night unless they absolutely have to. And there, William, I came across something I couldn't believe. This is a callback I never saw coming to something we very recently learned about. So there's a local named Ev Butler who said that this self-imposed curfew had a real effect on his family. Quote, "We didn't live in the town limits at that time, and almost everyone had an outdoor privy. To supplement the outside convenience, most houses had a thunder jug.
No!
A big jug that could be used at night and emptied into the privy during the day. That jug got plenty of use during the scare. Once again, thunder descends.
How is this possible?
The thunder rolls.
I didn't see this in the forecast.
Me neither.
Wow.
So a few episodes ago, Will came across some research where he learned about the thunder pot.
The Thunder Pot. I have no idea why I was talking about whatever I was talking about.
Me neither.
It was a little community. I have no idea what episode this was. But
It was like a small religious community.
Yes. What could this have been? Does anyone in the chat know as we're recording live? I'll literally just call for help.
But a thunder jug.
A thunder pot and a thunder jug. What is going on?
Believe my good fortune.
Episode 277.
I was wondering. It's Paranormal Vermont.
Vermont. Thank you,
Yeah.
Michelle. Yeah, thunder jug. Narrower opening. More fun for the family.
Absolutely. Kind of gamifying the experience a bit. Can I make it? Can
Let's
I
see
get
if
it
Timmy
in?
can hit the target.
Yeah. Thunder.
Thunder. Thunder jug. Timmy, you didn't empty the thunder jug. It was your turn.
Dad! I hate emptying the thunder jug. Awesome.
Yes, my turn.
Yeah! Yeah! I wonder if this is going to keep happening. Maybe there are a bunch of different names for this.
Maybe.
Thunder Cup? Who knows?
Who knows what might come next?
Thunder Bowl?
Thunder spout? Thunder... No, what would be a
Thunder bottle?
Thunder funnel?
Thunder Funnel. Okay, so you can see the effect this had on the locals.
Yeah, tremendous.
They had to resort to the thunder jug much more regularly than they would have normally done.
God damn it, Cat.
I know. So by January 13th, now this all started on December 29th, so it's been about 2 weeks now. The mayor of Bladenboro and the chief of police felt like the whole thing was getting out of hand. Now, this sucks what's about to happen. Try to keep riding the high of the thunder jug.
I'll try. All right, we'll remember happier times.
Yeah. To encourage the hunters to go home, and probably with the hope that this is all actually over for real, they hung an unusually large bobcat that was trapped by a local farmer from a flagpole in the center of town with a sign underneath it that said, "This is the Beast of Bladenboro." What the hell?
I'm not super shocked. And I know that that's
dead
gnarly.
animal in the center of town.
I agree that that's gnarly, but honestly, this is a little cuckoo. Mm-hmm. Everyone, go listen to our review of Halloween Ends.
Yeah,
where like the end of that movie. I don't know if I even want to spoil it here because it's still fairly recent. But there's a not dissimilar notion present in that story. Essentially, this like grisly, grim, unrecognizable for our modern society as something we would want to do.
Right.
Declaration of, hey, everybody, you're safe.
It's over. Yeah, I know. There's also just something about it being an animal that seems extra.
It seems, I know, it seems vicious and cruel and you know, horrific. Mm-hmm. But here's the other thing is that like it may be hard to confront, but there are undeniably places and times where you might have to take down a bobcat.
I know.
If you're protecting the flock, if you're protecting your farm, whatever, but the hanging it in the center of town is the real horrific thing. Like, children would grow up seeing this.
Yeah, I understand having to kill it or whatever.
Society occasionally has to get pretty morbid and terrifying.
No, I find the part that I find the most like is just the hanging of it. I mean, I don't like any of it, but hanging out in town square, it's so like vulgar and awful.
I know.
So it took about a week, but things did get back to normal and the killings and the attacks stopped. So that may well have been the Beast, actually.
Well, that's weird.
Right?
It's pretty weird.
So was that the Beast, or did the Beast retreat back to its swampy lair? Who knows? Or was this all a hoax?
Maybe the Beast saw all these hundreds of men and then
was like,
turned to the camera and went, "That's my cue to blow." Got out of town.
Who's your daddy? Wow, see ya. And got right the hell out of there. Yeah. So, could this have been a hoax?
Yeah.
Maybe the whole thing wasn't even a thing.
It was Ned sucking on those dogs.
Ned. Not even. So some people say that there were, in fact, some dog attacks, but that a handful of residents embellished a story and told the media basically just for kicks. I can imagine if that were the case, them feeling like things have gotten way out of hand when all of a sudden a buttload of hunters showed up, hundreds of them, and them deciding to just stop reporting the attacks that weren't attacks in the first place and just letting it die down.
Yep.
But who knows? We don't know. That's just a theory. I mean, there were some attacks. That's true. So who knows?
So it's the leprechaun of Mobile, Alabama?
I don't know. It's hard to say. The Beast might just be after you.
Whoa!
Next.
Is it?
Probably.
Yes.
So that's it. That's the Beast of Bladenboro.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yup. So that's going to do it, gang.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom, everybody.
That's a couple of bees for you. And don't worry, we have plenty of more bees to work through.
Ben and the Beast. They go down smooth.
Hell yeah. So we hope you enjoyed that. Like we said, if you like the show, you want to help support us, and if you would like a ton more of it, probably more importantly, you can go to patreon.com/GTTUpod and get a ton of stuff that you can't see otherwise or listen to otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's exclusive content.
Oh, yeah.
Only for the most supreme of backers.
Those with the most discerning of tastes.
Yes. But go check it out. And thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Thank you so much for your support. We greatly appreciate it.
Yep.
Just like every episode, you can watch a video version of this show on youtube.com/@GTTUpod. In this particular episode, we did have some video stuff, so feel free to click through and dig through if that's your kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wherever you're watching or listening, please consider subscribing, and especially please consider spreading the word. We would love to see your thoughts and a review on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, Patreon is amazing, but also doing stuff like that is super meaningful too. So don't think it has to be monetary if you would like to support us. We really, really appreciate everything.
We very much appreciate all of your support. And honestly, like I have to tell you, all of you, I have referenced the sort of like Guide to the Unknown community a few times in the last few weeks, being like, man, I am so like thankful that we seem to have like cultivated a really good internal society for our stuff, which I think is pretty rare and pretty fortunate.
I know. Yeah. Knock on wood. No, I completely agree.
So yes, thank you all for enjoying the show. If you
and being cool,
enjoy it, and for being cool,
yeah,
we really appreciate it. All right, follow @GTTUpod to keep up to date with everything that we're posting. You can even follow us individually.
Yep, I am @ChillinKristen.
I am @The Myth Traveler. So we'll see you next week, everybody, for more spooky stories. But until that time comes, we must travel
back to the netherworld. Go. Wait. Hey.
Don't. Hey. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?